Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.
You're listening to the financialsurvivalnetwork.com. I'm Kerry Lutz on 1590 WPSL. Talk about the law of unintended consequences. The paper markets in precious metals crash. What happens? What do you think would happen? You'd think that people would be selling their gold and silver left and right. Exactly the opposite. Physical buying has picked up to levels that haven't been seen since the last collapse. Here to talk about it, Ranting Andy Hoffman. Hello, Andy.
Hey, Kerry. How are you?
Doing great. So what's going on with the physical supply vis-a-vis the paper markets?
Well, first of all, you mentioned the unintended consequences, and we both obviously seen that term many times in the past week or so. And I'm not even so sure they were unintended because, like Cyprus, where how could they not think that announcing bail-ins would not cause a worldwide run on banks? How could they possibly think that by taking gold down $200 in 2 days under completely false pretenses would not have the exact same physical response that we saw in 2008? It's incredible. And as you say, what has happened? This has been the busiest week of Miles Franklin's 24 years in business, and that includes 2008. We're seeing 4 to 6 week delivery delays on silver, and now we're up to 2 to 3 weeks on most gold products. I would say the average silver product, if you could find it, is trading 30% above the paper price right now. And this is across the board. I mean, this is what happens when you take prices not just below the cost of production, but in such a transparent, blatant way to show the world almost that the markets are fraudulent.
Yeah, if you could find it. So supply is becoming an issue, huh?
It's beyond an issue. It's, you're reading what a lot of people are writing out there, particularly guys like Sinclair. I mean, to me, this is not 2008 because 2008, the government had the ability to change things with a couple of $1 trillion in money printing. I don't think they're going to be able, well, I know they won't be able to do that right now without sparking hyperinflation, given that debts are already so high and that game has already been played. I mean, they started this run here, and this is a worldwide run. I mean, this is not just in America. There's lines everywhere, and I get the emails all day long from Australia, from Asia, even from Europe. So, I think they started something, whether it's intended or unintended, it's going to finish this time.
Mm-hmm. So what's it like at Miles Franklin with the silver? Is anything obtainable? 1,000-ounce bars, or is it all?
You can get the large one. Well, we don't sell 1,000-ounce bars. I guess we could get them, but we don't get too much demand for them. And you could get 100-ounce bars. We don't recommend them unless it's a last-ditch effort to get something, because there's just too many things that could go wrong with them, and they are not as liquid or as desired. They're not the same situation as 1-ounce coins, but 1-ounce coins are what runs the world, the retail world, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing that's good with 100-ounce bars, they seem to have good weapon properties. They're heavy, and you could slam somebody with one, but outside of that could be the best use for them because you can't spend them. And like you said, they're not liquid.
We can't even ship 1,000-ounce bar because that takes it just over 70 pounds with the shipping. And pretty much every carrier out there won't ship more than 70 pounds worth unless they have the supplementary insurance that, the average person doesn't have. So there's 1,000-ounce bar is really only what you get from, if you're a central bank storing it. And that's, by the way, all that the Sprott Fund has if you ever wanted to redeem it. So it's completely impractical. 100 ounces, we do not recommend them. Again, if it was a case where it was that or nothing, even I would buy some. But they, like you said, they have weapon properties, but they are very, very impractical.
Yeah, and another thing that's happening, I don't know if you caught this, there's an article in WorldNet Daily, and it says that Americans are snapping by the thousands, that mental illness and depression and self-destruction, these trends are really really getting worse as the economic depression goes on its merry way.
Well, it goes hand in hand. Just like, we send people to war and all of a sudden you have massive suicides among soldiers. If you have an economic crisis, look, watch any crime show. Pretty much every crime is committed in the name of money. Sometimes love, sometimes money disguises love, but people get desperate when they don't have money. And this is the worst economic situation worldwide since the Great Depression.
Yeah, and maybe even before that, 23% of all American women in their 40s and 50s are taking SSRI inhibitor antidepressants.
Well, the drugs certainly don't help. And, we talk about these isolated shootings. There's a good chance that the drugs are involved in them. And this is not my area of expertise, but let's face it, we are an over-drugged world at the moment.
Yeah, and then they just made marijuana legal, which I'm in favor of. Not that I'm in favor of imbibing in it, because I don't really think that anything that you take to make you happy is really going to work for any length of time, and then it winds up causing more pain than pleasure. But exactly what happened during the Great Depression. FDR ran on a platform that he was going to repeal the prohibition, the Volstead Act. And that's exactly what he did right out of the gate. And happy days were here again for people in bars anyway.
Well, the funny thing, marijuana legalization is just a perfect example of the government getting things wrong, or better yet, getting things right for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. I
remember when Schwarzenegger first wanted to do it, or I don't even know if they did in California. I guess they didn't, but
no, they did.
They were talking about they're going to have increased tax revenues, which is ridiculous. It's like putting in casinos. Yeah, you'll get increased tax revenues, but the nation, the state, will get poorer because people spend their money on things that that are not productive, and not to mention the drug cartels come into the game and they want a piece of the profit. They don't want anyone profiting, and as a result, you're also promoting to youth that smoking marijuana is a good thing, which it's not. It's fun, but it basically wastes your money and your time. And these are not the times, nor are they ever, but certainly not now, to be wasting your time and money.
Yeah. You need to be putting it aside, buying precious metals, and getting food, which our sponsor PrepareWise highly recommend. Use the code Lutz. But you need to be preparing, not escaping, because there really is no escape from the economic cataclysm that we're really finally about to undergo.
And that's, we talk here as older people who have some kind of ability to protect ourselves, but when we think of the nation's youth and the world's youth, Americans have it good compared to what Europeans have right now. But they have, they have all this massive debt. There's no jobs out there. I think of how paranoid I was and how scared I was coming out of college in the early 90s, which were the good old days compared to now, where there's no hope. When I was coming out of college, everyone wanted to be in Wall Street and real estate. Now those are gone. Those are not growth. They're not even businesses, let alone growth businesses. And the manufacturing is all gone. So what's left? You live with your parents and you hope for government assistance. It's very scary.
Yeah, well, you could become a marijuana farmer too.
No, you can't. I know. That's the whole point. Now that it's legal, the government is also regulating it more. I know someone who was a marijuana farmer. He's already out of business. There's no way to make. I shouldn't say there's no way. There's very few ways to be entrepreneurial these days. And, now the increased inflation and regulation and Obamacare and all these taxes and fees coming in makes it almost impossible to join a small business. You have to hope to join a big business, and the big businesses aren't hiring.
Boy, is that ever the truth. So what do you do here?
I can't say I know what to do as a youth. I just, I do believe that if you work hard and are committed and have some kind of skill, that there will be things that you could do. But I can't, right now I can't spend my time on what others will do. I need to focus on helping people protect themselves in my arena.
Yeah, and that's what we're really all about here, is helping you protect yourself from kleptocracy.
Evil.
Yeah.
From evil.
Pure evil. Pure evil, and you really can't put it any other way. It's just evil what's been going on, and these markets have just become a mechanism of theft, a way to separate you from your hard-earned dollars, the few that you've managed to save.
But what happened with this recent hit, it's like I was reading Jim Willey this morning, and for the last few newsletters, he's been writing, I won't publish a gold price out of respect to the market because it's no longer real. And this morning I wrote, I'm considering at some point in the future, the way things are going, not talking every day about the gold price either, because it's going to become meaningless soon. You know, either the paper gold break will end with a bang or a whimper, meaning that either COMEX will be a default, a force majeure, or people will simply ignore it as they realize it's immaterial. I think most of the world has started to ignore the Dow Jones propaganda average. As things get worse, they're going to ignore it more. Just like as the paper price separates from physical, people are going to ignore GLD and they're going to ignore the COMEX more.
Yeah, and in fact, on the COMEX, they have a provision that if they can't get the metal, they're allowed to settle the contracts in GLD and SLV. So you get to settle your paper contract with more paper that can be produced, infinite amounts of it, that probably has no metal underlying it, or whatever metal it has dozens of claims on it ahead of yours. And this is their out. This is where they see, if worse comes to worse, we can always settle in paper. And really, that's the end of it.
And they have done that before. I mean, it's not just in the rules. I mean, a few years ago back certainly in 2011, they were forcing people to settle in paper. Just like ABN AMRO, just last month, ABN AMRO is the largest Dutch bank. It's a big deal. They pretty much settled in paper. They told people who had gold stored with them that you can't have it back. And GLD, for that matter, which, of course, we've talked about forever, the prospectus says right there that force majeure, they could take it away. I mean, in fact, Andy Schectman, our president, his thought is that, that would be the best confiscation possible. Why go to the people when you could just go to GLD and SLV? Obviously, they don't have 100% of what they have, what they say they have. We know that, but they certainly have something.
They got something.
It says right there in the prospectus that they could be force majeure away from you. You can bet that that'll be the first thing they go after.
No doubt. So what's happening with with Barrick Gold?
Right. Well, you mentioned we were talking about evil before, and I was like, oh boy, I hope Kerry segues into this perfectly, because my piece that I wrote, 4 or 6 weeks ago was called Evil Personified, about Barrick Gold. Barrick Gold has a horrific history of naked shorting gold for years. They were the major hedger. They're partners with JP Morgan and the U.S. government. That's admitted. That was in court 10 years ago. That's real. They've also, with the government's help, been kind of a vulture predator in taking over weaker companies during, before the gold bull market in the early 2000s. And they became the largest gold mining company in the world. The government was still behind them back 3 or 4 years ago when they did that ridiculous stock offering that they said was used to cover their hedges. Except if you looked at their accounting, there was a lot of sketchy things in there that made you believe that there were still hedges around. And as more research has gone into it, there are people who believe that those hedges have to do with Pascal Lama, which has now been almost force majeure. It's pretty much been, let's call it indefinitely put on hold. And so right now, this stock is plummeting. I mean, I put that piece out saying I believe firmly they're going to lose that project, and they're going to, if they do, they could go bankrupt. And the stock is down close to 50% since that's happened. It's down again today, big. And, that is the world's largest gold miner. If they go out of business, I can't even tell you the ramifications, because I was through this in the oil business 10 years ago when or I should say 15 years ago, when oil prices fell to $10 and oil companies were collapsing left and right, and they were merged into bigger companies. And it took years for them to consolidate and regrow business in a business where you could actually increase reserves, unlike gold, where no one is increasing reserves. So I think that Barrick could be a major, major flashpoint in the destruction of supply. And it's no coincidence, or is a coincidence, you choose, that it happened right after the Kennecott mine was also, I believe, permanently force majeure. I don't think they're ever going to produce that again.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of work to clean out that mine, and just interesting. Nobody got injured. It happened over a period of time, and boom, it's gone.
Well, what they claimed was, and rightfully so, just the fact that they had all these seismic measures around the edge. I mean, the fact that they even knew to put those in there shows you that what they were doing is very unstable. This is, I believe, the largest open pit mine on Earth. Yeah, which you could see from outer space. It's such an incredible excavation. It's like creating a massive, massive sinkhole that's unstable. And they said, we took all our people out 2 weeks before because we were seeing readings that said that side of the wall was shaking, if you believe what they say. I don't know, I kind of do believe that. And the fact is, it did fall apart. They were correct. And it will take, according to people inside, it'll take a year or two just to clean it out. Let alone, I mean, they're going to have to get environmental permits to go back in what is clearly a seismic zone. So it could take years and years if there's any chance of it ever producing again. And it is the largest copper producer in the States and produces 10 to 15% of all the silver and 7% of all the gold. Gone, probably forever.
Yeah, and you and I have both been there, and the scale of the thing when I was there 40 years ago was, you just stood at the top and you looked out and you couldn't believe the scale of this thing. And I mean, maybe they always knew that it was unstable and it was just a matter of time until a collapse occurred, but coming at the worst possible time for the markets and yet having no effect on them whatsoever, it's yet another aspect of the whole fraud.
Sure, they had an effect. That was the day, that was Thursday, and Friday and Monday was when gold fell $200 an ounce. So again, the cartel couldn't be more blatant in what they do. And, what they've done here is completely fail in their attempts to break confidence. In fact, I could just see some of these guys going, all right, we're going to break that 2-year support at 1525. We're going to break the support at silver at 26. Who cares what the ramifications are? Who cares that the cost of production is already above the cost of the price? Now we're going to take it even lower. So every mining company goes out of business. And then, of course, the Pascal Lama and Barrick and all this stuff. I mean, to me, I truly believe that the mining industry is dead forever. The gold and silver mining industry, I should say. And remember, with silver, more than 2/3 of production is byproduct. And now that you have, sharply falling prices of base metals, you could have the same issue as in 2008, where some of those mines shut down, and it would further shut down production of silver. I think supply is a complete black hole for years to come, in large part because the cartel has hit prices so low that they've destroyed the mining industry. And by the way, when prices do eventually explode to the moon, the government will be there taking everything in sight. So for those that think mining stocks are going to be internet stocks, they will not be.
You're 100% right in the money there, and no doubt this is where we're headed. So what do you do here?
You protect yourself. You think about all these things we've been talking about and saying, if these scenarios occur, what do I want to have my wealth held in? What do I want to be storing? What do I want to be prepared for? What prices might gasoline go to, and what might I do about it? Might there be shortages of food? Might there be social unrest? All those things. And hopefully people listen. I believe that 1 or 2% are listening. I would love it if we get to 3% before the end game, but I don't think there's enough gold or silver for 3%. I think maybe 2 is about it.
Well, I can tell you that from our standpoint here at the Financial Survival Network, we've never had more people listening. Since the end of the year, more of you out there, more than double of you are listening. So if it was at 1 or 2, I think it's at 3 to 4 now, Andy, just from my anecdotal evidence here of my own personal
Well,
audience.
I would agree that a lot more are listening. In fact, I did a piece last year called Gold Sentiment 101, and I was comparing the gold price to podcast hits.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I was using my SGT report because it was once a month, and I was just comparing it. And the largest amount I ever had was the one I did literally days before the leap day violation, because people were excited. There was fear, there was greed, everything was in the market, and that's clearly why the government went to such lengths that day to take gold down. If you remember, it was taken down $100 in a day for absolutely, in fact, for the same bull reasons as now.
Where this is a family publication, but we'll let you slide there.
Okay, I didn't even finish the word because of the end of QE and all that stuff. But it had been kind of low for a while. But after what happened last week, I just did a podcast, and in less than a week, it's already 26,000 hits. So my point is, they have awoken the beast because people are now buying physical. They are all over the internet trying to find information about what's going on, and all because these idiots decided that we're going to break the support levels because, they couldn't have miscalculated more, and it may well have been the straw that breaks the paper camel's back.
Yeah, and that is a great title for this. The straw that broke the paper camel's back. I like that. It's got a nice ring to it. The paper straw that broke. Well, straws, I don't know. I remember my father first explained that to me. I didn't quite get it, but over the years it became clearer. And certainly that's what we're looking at here, because like I put in my newsletter over the weekend, is that the fact is the markets long ago ceased performing their one invaluable function, which is price discovery, which what that allows market participants to do, especially the people that need the products of that market in their business, whether it's wheat or gold or whatever it is enables them to plan ahead, to expand or contract, to increase their sales or decrease them. You need this price information, and clearly the paper markets don't provide that any longer.
Well, I was talking this weekend to people. I said, look, in the late 90s, everyone and their brother figured out, they learned the lingo of internet stocks. It doesn't mean that they became experts in e-commerce, but they learned enough to be dangerous. Okay, everyone knew, what the major internet stocks were, what they were trading at, and they made it their business to understand at least some of what the business was about. And that was in good times. And I'm saying that, the price discovery is broken in the paper markets, but this is going to be fear, not greed. And people are going to learn very quickly what the price of gold, real gold and silver is. They're going to learn exactly what the products are, where to buy them, how to buy them. As in right now, as we said, 1 or 2% of the people might know this. A year or two from now, 90% of the people may know this. Doesn't mean they're going to be able to protect themselves, but they will certainly learn and understand.
Yeah, unfortunately, the hard way.
Yes, the very hard way. And, that's why we're screaming, you and I and others, to learn now before it's too late.
Yeah, and it will be too late very shortly, no doubt. So on that note, milesfranklin.com, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Go there, educate yourself now before it's too late, and it's getting to that point very quickly. Andy, we will talk to you next week. You be well. Keep up the fight.
Looking forward to it.
The Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.